and I got caught with a hook. The front part pushed real deep in. When you threw the hook, it pushed in. And I remember losing my equilibrium for a second. I was like, whoa. I couldn't open my left eye for a second. Like every time I opened, it was like a major stabbing pain. And I thought it was just a scratched cornea. Every time I looked left, I would have to turn my whole head because it was restricted. My eye was I couldn't move further than 1 point. After I moved after a certain point, I would see double vision. I was worried that if I got this checked out, I won't be boxing for a very long time or maybe never. And I had a home show that was coming up, so I didn't want to say anything, which was very stupid at the time. But yeah, I didn't say anything onto the home show. I took some paracetamol and I said, oh, surely the pain eventually subsided after like a week, but I still couldn't see after a certain point. I was still seeing the double vision every time I looked left. And my eye just went lazy. This would be fine, and then this one would just go lazy. But I didn't really want to tell anyone that. Now, this is when I say God is definitely very involved in my life, because that home show, on the day that I was meant to fight, I'd made weight, by the way, everything. I remember Mark saying, oh yeah, Aki, you're not fighting. I said, what do you mean I'm not fighting? He said, yeah, the person just didn't pull up. I was like, yeah, I've got the whole family here. They've come to watch me, and like this is wasted all the energy. And I was really irritated. Anyway, I was like, well, since that's off, I might as well get my eye checked in the end. There's no point of me just leaving like this because it was now concerning. And I went first to Specsavers, and the person who checked my eye was actually then concerning. He then referred me to St. Thomas's Hospital, and that's when they initially thought I had cranial nerve damage solely because of the double vision and the lazy eye, which meant I would definitely not be allowed to box. But then they were like, oh yeah, we found out that you actually had a fractured orbital, and in the orbital fracture site, it was pulling on my eye muscle, which was restricting me from moving my eye past a certain point. That's why every time I was looking left, I would see double vision because it was restrained. The eye muscle was trapped. And I was out for roughly 10 to 12 weeks because they were potentially saying that you may need surgery to basically detach the muscle from the fracture site. But they said that we're not sure if you do surgery with any kind of surgery, there's always a potential that it might make it worse even, or might not even work. And you will still have to wait additional months for recovery, which I wasn't necessarily willing to do that. So during that whole period, I went through a point where I was like, I don't want to think about boxing, I don't want to hear boxing, I don't want to talk boxing. I didn't even want to go training. Like, it just felt, because it's hard to train with somebody that you know that you're never probably going to see again.
Born and raised in Croydon, this 21-year-old is studying mechanical engineering at the University of Nottingham. Found his way into boxing after being dropped by his rugby club when he was a lot younger, and a friend took him to the boxing gym.
I got to the finals of nationals, but I lost in a split decision in the final. One thing I've learned about doing these competitions is that it's always a different feeling doing it the second time. I feel like there's a different kind of hunger when you're doing it the first time to prove yourself. You're almost like a dark horse, so you're coming with a different kind of energy, and it even shows a bit in your style. Obviously your style is always kind of going to have the same template, but your aggression, your thought process is very different. And I think one mistake I made was this year in the Elite, I was doing just enough to win the competitions, and it was getting me through fine. I was doing the hard work, I was doing everything. But in hindsight, I did realize that the hunger that I showed that won me the 2025 wasn't displayed as well as it should be in the Elites this year. And I feel like that's what cost me, especially in the final, and especially against a very, very talented good lad that I fought in the final. He's a very talented boxer. He's even on GB now. He's a great boxer, but against guys like that, you can't afford to just do enough just to win. And like, if you speak to many others who've done the National League second time coming, there's always that thought process, getting over that barrier of, oh, I'm not just doing this just to maintain a reputation. I'm doing it to show that I belong on the throne. I started boxing when I was 18. I think that's a lot more common now, but I started boxing when I was 18. And prior to that, I used to play rugby. I was playing for Harlequins Academy as a flanker. And just before like the deciding contracts, I got dropped, and for reasons I wouldn't necessarily agree with, but I still had that tenacity and desire to still continue with sports. I was brought to a boxing club and I found I had a knack for it. And I realized, let me give this a try, because like I've always wanted to see my potential in any shape or manner, whether it was at the amateur scene or eventually further down the line, the pro scene. But I just wanted to, I guess, prove myself. Like I feel like once I've always put a mindset behind something, I always want to try and stretch the limits, especially being a latecomer. I wanted to show that it's still possible, especially with the lights that you see before me. Obviously, one of the very main ones, AJ, starting late. It always gives you that motivation to show that it is very possible if you just have the consistency. I remember I just came to Fitzroy Lodge, and even the coach, my coach Mark, he was like, I first came into the lodge and he was like, "Are you here for the session today?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "So where are your gloves?" I was like, "I don't have any." He says, "You've come into the club without no gloves and you want a box." And that's when I knew these guys aren't tolerating nonsense. I was like, okay, this is a serious gym and this is a serious sport, no mess about. And to be fair, I like that because it kind of like was a wake up, like actually, like, let me lock in now. I'd won the Bucks University Cup, which was a nice stepping stage accolade for me, but it wasn't the final destination because I wanted to go past that with developments and eventually the NACs. And when I got towards the end of that season, it was almost like I had a crowd of knowledge. Like I genuinely felt like a new person. However, it's ironic because I don't tell a lot of people this, but when it was going into 2024, my best season, I was coming to the conclusion I'm okay with leaving boxing. Maybe this sport is not for me. I still love this sport with a passion. I don't know why I'm still here. It's become second nature, but maybe if this is not my destination, that's okay. But I'm going to give it my all this final season. And that's when everything just clicked. It was almost as if all the years of just back and forth, the injuries, the learning lessons, getting absolutely fried in sparring by very talented boxers in my gym just clicked. I entered the East Midland regions for developments, won that, and I was like, oh wow, okay. And then I remember my coach, because I went back to uni, and I remember the coach I was with, his name was Derek, love Derek by the way. He was like, trust me, you're gonna do something special this year. And I'm brushing it off, I'm not thinking too tough. And now I'll get to the quarterfinals, I'm thinking, whoa, okay, what's going on? To the point where I'm now facing prior champions from the years of the developments, and I'm beating them with very good ease. I'm thinking, okay, maybe there is something more to this. Like maybe I have really elevated. And then the sweetest, the icing on the cake was I got to the development finals and I get to beat the person that I lost on a home show to in my previous year of boxing. And it was almost like I could now actually see the growth. Like you could completely see my style had been renewed and refined, and all the experiences I gained had actually shown in that final fight, and you could visually see the change. And then that's when everything just started to spiral out of control. And that's the season I had 23 fights. So I won the developments, and then after that it was the NABGs. And then I faced the former GB Tri-Nation champion in the NABGs, beat him. And then after that, had the Elites Nationals, won that. And then I had the GB Tri-Nations, I won that. And then after that, I had Haringey to top it off, and I won that as well. And I don't know what was in the air or what had happened, but it was just glad to see that people were seeing it as, oh, where has this come from? It's almost all of a sudden you've just now become this overnight champion. But it was generally those years prior to that that kind of formed me, even though I couldn't see at that moment. In hindsight, when I look back, those years were probably the most important, when I had the losses, the fractures, the injuries, the learning lessons. That's what made me. Tenacity and consistency always overrides talent. And the combination of both, you're just dangerous. It's taught me anything you do, the success that you see from it never happened overnight. Whatever area in life that is, if you're starting a business, if you've been working on some design, you're never going to see the result within the intended days that you see. I think if you follow the journey more, and you fall in love with the journey, you're going to forget about the result, and the result will just happen to be the icing on the cake. But in the early stages, to me, I think the fact that I was so focused on, okay, I'm going to win developments, I'm going to win the elites, or I want to win this cup. When that didn't happen, it almost set me down the ladder of forgetting about what I needed to do to get there. Like, actually developing as a boxer was almost neglected. I was more focused on the accolade. And I feel like you're more likely to burn out when you do that. When I fell in love with the journey and saw myself just growing as a boxer, all those titles started to just pick up. And I'm not saying it was easy, but it was a lot easier than when I was thinking about the result. I guess always put God first whenever I enter the ring or whatever I'm about to do. I felt like whenever I neglected God when I was about to do anything, I felt like a different person. You know, my coach told me one time, he said that it's funny when you look at the people, some of the people that have turned over, they were not the best in their gym or at their club. The best ones probably faded away. They eventually let the boxing kind of run over them. They fatigued for whatever reason, a valid reason maybe so. Whereas the one that just stayed consistent, that ends up being the one that shines through in the end. And it might sound harsh, but it's the truth. So I think try not to look too much about the immediate gratification. Enjoy the journey a bit, even though it's very hard. This game is a very dog-eat-dog world, you understand? So just keep going in the gym, whether you win or lose, and you will see the benefits. I promise you that you will see the changes over time. I've been through it. Like, I've seen both sides. When you're losing and you still have to go to the gym and train. I've even been stopped as well, and I still had to go back into boxing. Like, I've seen the dark part, like the part that people don't want to talk about, you understand? So I'm not just saying this just to sound sweet for the camera. I truly mean it, you understand? But when you do stick around and you still stay consistent, honestly, it feels so much sweeter when you look back in hindsight, because now you have something to compare it to. The day that I said, you know what, let me just take a day off, I will feel the mental scar, like I will mentally think, I should have trained today. And I won't enjoy me taking the day off, you know? And that pull, there's nothing I'll be able to rip me away unless I have an injury that will take me out. Or eventually, when I do feel content and I find that the reward is starting to be outweighed by the risk, like when I start to see that, maybe, but I don't know, I will still be linked to boxing, whether it's coaching, it's helping the youngest coming up within the lodge. But yeah, it's just genuinely the love for the game. I've achieved more than I could have ever expected within the 5 years of boxing. I've accomplished the accolades I can look back on, that even my family can be proud of their last name that I've inherited, and show the accolades that I've got. It's definitely a rewarding feeling. Honestly, whenever someone asks me what's one of the best moments in your life, I'll always refer back to 2025 when I won the Elite Nationals, because especially my family is able to see me after all the graft, all the whole journey. Especially when I first started boxing, I said, yeah, I want to start boxing, and they're looking at me, this guy's not serious. You don't know what boxing is. This is not for you. See me jumping rope in the background and thinking, come on, give her a rest. And seeing the final result of someone holding the Elite National belt, first time entering, that was a really blessed feeling. And I would honestly wish that for anyone who's on their own journey as well, reaching towards the Elite Nationals, it's definitely a rewarding feeling doing it the first time, and it's definitely something that I think you would really value. One thing I was struggling with a bit in sparring, especially with Upper England, was because they really focus on how refined you are, and a bit of my style was how kind of rugged it was a bit, but it worked in my favor. And when you took that aside, it kind of exposed my boxing flaws and qualities that hadn't adjusted yet. So that was weighing on my mind a bit, especially now entering the international scenes. I'm now no longer dealing with local familiar faces. It's new alien styles and territory that I haven't adjusted to yet. And I remember I really locked in with my coach from NOS and Fitzroy Lodge, Mark and Derek. And I remember training. I never gone as hard as I could in my life. But this was the first time where I was training out of, I know I shouldn't be saying it, but I was training out of fear. Like, I can't, like, this is, like, I'm not just doing this because I just want to win. And I was like, oh, I need to lock in. But when I entered the ring, honestly, I was even kind of concerned because I felt like I had never boxed so well in my life, to the point that when I was getting to round two, I was like, oh, he's going to come out with something. So he's going to come out with something. Because I was so scared, I was so worried about why it was going so well. But then it just dawned that all the work that I put in, I really pushed myself so hard that when it came to the showing the work and results, it was almost like I got to walk that day. I got to just enjoy myself. And I fought him back to back, and both times were unanimous. And I'm not denying he's a great boxer. I've seen him box. He's a great boxer. But I think when I really locked in every aspect, strength and conditioning, my technical ability, even the flaws that I kind of hid under the rug, I really saw my best version, one of the best versions of myself out there. And it made me really appreciate now that sometimes I don't need to just be an aggressive, full force, like hammerhead. I can actually come in with a bit of finesse. It really is three people, right? For different reasons. Number one, Mark. The moment before I went back to uni and I won all my accolades, that season was a sinusoidal battle of wins and losses, learning curve. But all the learning that I gained was through Mark. He taught me the fundamentals, why I lost my fights, and what made me that person past that point was because of Mark. And he installed a mentality that definitely helped me get really far. He also taught me a real big philosophy in amateur boxing. You know how people hate split decisions and they'll say, oh, robbery. But he said, look, if you make it a fight close, don't blame them if they give you a split decision. That's your fault. You should never let a fight be close. Always make it look as clean as possible. And if it goes to split decision, just accept that you probably lost, but don't call it robbery because you made it close. And that was his philosophy that I took even when I went back to Nottingham. Now, when I got to Nottingham, who really pushed me, I'm going to have to say Derek. Derek, he knows who he is. He maintained that standard that Mark has set, and he pushed me even further. And he also understood my psychology. Like, Derek was a great person. He understood my psychology. He was a great coach, but also a great friend. I think that's very important in boxing. You always have that one person in boxing that they just understand you. They know what ticks you or what makes you worry. When you're lacking in a round, what makes you switch on. And he was that person. Even when I lost, he knew exactly how to get me restarting again. When I lost in the home show right before the Nationals, he was like, perfect, I'm glad you lost now, because when we go to Nationals, we're going to find that, fix that. And he got me out of that loop of, maybe I'm not as good as I thought. He said, stop that bullshit, stop now. And yeah, he was an amazing coach. He definitely taught me that true technical fundamentals as well that made me win the elites. I definitely do feel like that. So the combination of him, Mark, really propelled me. And the third one, I have to say, just because I do believe he does deserve an honorable mention, is also Genie from Clifton as well. I would say he was more so in the sense of supporting me in terms of my needs in boxing, ensuring I got the right sparring. He was really a great father in boxing. I really did appreciate him. He always looked after me, and I could never thank him more than that. Driving me to fuck knows locations that are so far that you wouldn't believe it. Driving me from Notts to Essex and then to Sheffield, making sure that I'm looked after and made sure that I became the best self that I could be. And to the club, they come from different ways of life. Honestly, very complete, different opposites, right? When I saw the people that were coming in and the fact that we were all able to find a sense of belonging under one shared ground, like I've discovered some of the closest friends and family from boxing, and I've even seen youngest coming up, and it made me realize, boxing does hold a lot more than just a sport itself. It really is a way of life, and I've been able to be in other people's dark moments solely because I knew them through boxing. First thing, why you're doing it. Like, why do you want to box? Do you understand? Because then the days that you start to feel demotivated, you remember those core reasons why you do. And if you don't have a reason, you need to think hard. And if you find yourself struggling so hard, you need to think, is this where you want to go? Is it because you truly have passion for the sport? Is it something that's keeping you restrained together? Is it because you want to achieve legacy titles? Is it to make money? Because people have to remember the many ways of making money in this life as well. You understand? If you can answer those questions when things get tough, when it gets hard, remember those reasons, because that's what's going to propel you. Starters, people won't be pulling that on home shows, lastminute.com, and you will see a lot more well-matched bouts, closer decisions, and I think it will definitely propel boxers a lot more. Because look, you're not going to grow when you're fighting opponents and you know you can actually smash to a rock. I've learned the most when I fought people that were above my level or close to my level, or when I even lost. That's where my growth came. You understand? So I think BoutMatch would definitely fix that issue, and it would really give ease to a lot of the coaches now, because there's a lot of friction when trying to match people.